elevation doesn't always look or feel comfortable. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I was watching this village Nigerian movie, and in that village there was a king, and of course there were commoners there. And I came to realize this after watching that movie. There was this certain lady who was a fierce lady. She was a determined lady. She was ambitious. She was she's that kind of lady who whatever she wants she will go after. But she was a commoner. She came from a poor background. But someday something happened. She went to the palace with her sister. And Grace, that is where Grace opened doors for her, if I can say it like that. And the king, she found favor in the king's eyes, and the king had a son. And that lady was she was a makeup artist, so she had her own thing going on outside the palace. But once she found favor in the king's eyes, the king invited her into the palace to act as a maid, to be a personal maid for his son, to a personal maid, do everything for the prince, to show him around the village, because he had not been living in the village for a while. She was not comfortable with being a maid, coming from being her own a business owner to being a maid. That wasn't something that she was comfortable with. But as she was called into that palace to act as a personal maid, as a personal assistant for the prince, she was given more, her salary was more than the rest of the maids in that palace. So she really found favor in the king's eyes. So that was elevation for her, because eventually she became the princess of that palace. Eventually she found favor also, in the prince's eyes, and she became a princess, which later on, of course, she would become a queen once the king and the queen wouldn't be there anymore. So that movie really showed me that sometimes elevation doesn't always look comfortable, but eventually we rise up to that beautiful position, that high position, that unexpected position. Because who would have thought that she would have been imagine being in her shoes, being a commoner. Would you have thought that she would eventually be the princess of that? Because she was an orphan, she basically had no hope of being, or even the thought of being a royal. So imagine being in her shoes. So that was a good example of how elevation doesn't always look comfortable, but eventually you get to where God ordained for you to be. So I just want to encourage you that as long as you are believing in God for that elevation in your life, as long as you have been praying to God for an elevation in your life, you have to thank God for every process that He takes you through, because you just never know where He's going to take you to, because you never know what your elevation is going to look like. It might end up making you being this high person in the society, or maybe a royalty. You just never know. But you need to trust God. As long as you have been praying to God, as long as you have received signs or a promise from God about elevation, about elevating you need to trust that eventually, no matter how the journey looks like, He's going to get you to where you want to be, or at a better place, at a better position in life. Because there's this word in Ephesians chapter 3 verse 20. God gives you more than you ask or think. I'm going to write it down here, but you need to believe and trust in God's journey, God's plans for your life. Because remember Jeremiah 29:11, so you need to trust God's plans for your life. You need to continue praying and thanking God for every step of your life, every step of your journey, because He knows where He's taking you to, and His plans are never to harm us. His plans are always to give us a future and a hope. I hope that this made sense. I really hope that it did make sense, and I hope that it blesses you and encourages you, even if it's just a little bit. Thank you for tuning in, and may God bless you. Bye.